I want to talk about Islam Makhachev. I can't think of anything more important right now in the UFC MMA community to talk about than Islam Makhachev. And it's kind of complicated because we're getting a great deal of our news from, the human triceratops, Ali Abdelaziz. Can you let me know down below? Has anybody ever said that before? I know there's a bunch of memes and people like to make fun of the dude and crack jokes. Every time I look at him, and maybe it's because when I was little, I used to have like this fascination. I thought when I grew up, I was going to be a paleontologist. But every time I see him, I think Triceratops. Has anybody said that? It would be funny if Tony Ferguson said that. If Tony Ferguson coined that and now I stole that from him, that would be hilarious. But anyway, he's been making the rounds and he's been talking about like, oh, we would have had this fight, but Makhachev was asleep and I didn't want to bother him because I kind of think he has sleep apnea and it's been a thing that we've been dealing with. I don't know. It might be one of those things where you know how, have you heard about how the truth is stranger than fiction, that one Will Ferrell movie? There's some truth to that, no pun intended, but I think the truth often sounds stupider than a lie, than a potential lie. I don't know how many times in my own life where I needed to say something. I was kind of backed in a corner. I was being asked a question, whether by Marilena, whether it was at work, whatever it was at school. And I'm ready to tell them what happened. And in my beanie, I'm like, this sounds so stupid. Even though it's the truth. Even though I know this is exactly what happened. But it's like, you know what? I don't think they're going to believe this. I think for the sake of everybody, I might have to make something up. And when he keeps talking about how Makhachev was asleep, I think it sounds stupid, frankly. But, maybe at the same time, we're hearing that Ilya was pulling a John Jones. And that he was saying, oh, yeah, I'll fight Makhachev. I'll go up and fight Makhachev. I'll fight 5 dudes in one day, like Chale Sonnen. Whatever you want me to do. But I need 2.5 billion. And it's like, what? Well, then no. And it's like, well, I offered. So it kind of seems like, okay, one of the dudes, we're hearing that, by the way, it's from his own manager. So I feel like this is the kind of thing that you would say about another dude if you were trying to make fun of him. Or if that's why I'm saying we got to keep in mind that the truth is often stranger than fiction. I kind of think maybe he was asleep. He is I don't know when Ramadan ends. But I would assume it makes you tired. Or maybe you just sleep through the whole day. That's kind of a cheat code, right? I never thought of that before. Is that doing Ramadan right? Is that kind of looked down on? Is that frowned upon? If you sleep all through the day on Ramadan, you just wake up. You just tell me, wake me up when the sun goes down. Like that's cheating, right? Wake me up after you go down. I was trying to line up the syllables in my beanie as I, in real time, but it's not edited. So sometimes you don't get perfection. But I feel like that's cheating. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. If he was sleeping through the day in Ramadan and then he just wakes up to eat, he very well could have been asleep. But we got one guy that, slept through the phone call, And, there's been times when I'm having an issue with my lady and, maybe I feel like my phone's overheating a little bit. And I feel like, maybe I should turn my phone off because I'm being frugal and I don't want my phone to overheat. I don't want to have to buy a new phone. I want to do the right mature thing by our finances. Marilena's been trying to get me to read this book by Dave Ramsey. So I'm like, okay, I'll turn my phone off and then I'll go play Resident Evil for 6 hours. And I think I'm doing the mature thing. She comes around way later thinking I'm ignoring her calls. I say, no, I just turned off my phone because last time I got a new phone, you thought that I was being materialistic. So which is it? Which one do you want to have? You can't have it both ways. And we had I don't even know what point I was making, but we had Makhachev who slept through the UFC phone call allegedly to take the Ilya fight, and we had Ilya saying, "I'll fight him all day, but I need 2.5 billion," and talking himself, negotiating himself out of a fight. So it kind of seems like these dudes are kind of flirting with each other, and maybe neither of them really want this to transpire, or at least not yet. Either way, forget it. That's not even the main conversation right now. Now we're trying to find out who Makhachev's gonna fight, because Ilya's already fighting somebody. And again, who knows if he's telling the truth. But Ali Abdelaziz, I feel like it's easier to say Triceratops. Ali has one of those names where every time I say it out loud, I'm having to like be super conscious of every part of the name. I feel like I'm gonna say it wrong. You know, do you have names like that you say, or like words when you say them, you're like heavily concentrating as you say them to make sure you say them correctly? He was also saying that if Ilya did fight Makhachev and he wasn't available for the White House, that he heard from the UFC, which, why? Why would he hear that? Well, maybe because Gaethje's his fighter. I guess he would be in that conversation. That Gaethje was going to fight Sarukian. But either way, Ilya's lined up right now. Now we're trying to find out Makhachev. Whatever. One of the dudes snored through the phone call. He Ferris Bueller'd the phone call. The other dude wanted too much money. Maybe they all want to wait for the right time. Let's say Ilya wins. Maybe Triceratops is banking on Ilya winning, and then his stock goes up. Makhachev beats whoever he's going to fight. His stock goes up. Now there's even more money than if Ilya and Makhachev would have fought first. So I get it.